The downfall of Brazil football team. Have you ever thought about what happened to the famous Brazilian football team that used to rule the world? The fall of the Seleção, from winning a record-setting 5 World Cups to struggling in 6th place in the South American qualifying results, has left fans confused and sad. What caused this huge drop, and will Brazil ever be able to get back to being a football powerhouse? The Brazilian football team, which was previously considered to be the pinnacle of style, skill, and accomplishment, is currently experiencing a concerning downturn. There is a crisis of identity that the Seleção, which is famed for its 5 World Cup titles and its glorious past, is currently experiencing. The urgency of the crisis is highlighted by the recent inability of the Olympic squad to qualify for the games that will take place in Paris in 2024, as well as the senior men's national team's poor position in 6th place in the classification standings for the South American World Cup qualifying competition. The narrative that surrounds Brazilian football has undergone a significant transformation as a result of a number of managerial changes, a significant outflow of talented players to other countries, and a lack of a consistent plan. In this video, the elements that have contributed to this fall are discussed, as well as the implications that this decline has for the future of Brazil's most cherished sport. The golden age of Brazilian football. Since the beginning of time, Brazil has been synonymous with footballing greatness. Pelé, who passed away recently, was widely considered to be the best player in the history of the sport. He exemplified the jogo bonito, the beautiful game, the Brazilian style of play, which is distinguished by flair, originality, and technical prowess, has captivated the imagination of football fans all around the world. Brazilian football has a long and illustrious history, beginning with the samba rhythms of the team that won the World Cup in 1970 and continuing with the brilliant displays of ability displayed by players such as Zico and Ronaldo. In spite of this, the landscape started to undergo a significant transformation after the 2014 World Cup, when the Brazilian team was humiliated by Germany in the semifinals by a score of 7-1. This event served as a turning point, bringing to light fundamental faults in the national setup and causing doubts to be raised about the future of football in Brazil. Instability in leadership. A coaching carousel in the world of coaching. The volatility that has been afflicting Brazilian football is exemplified by the appointment of Dorival Jr. as the 5th coach of the national team in the past 2 years. As the coaches try to develop a coherent identity for the squad, each change in leadership indicates a broader crisis occurring within the organization. Not only does the consistent turnover cause disruptions to the continuity of the team, but it also limits the implementation of long-term initiatives that are essential for success. The lack of a clear direction has led to confusion among players, according to football historians and commentators like David Der Gomes, who underline the importance of this occurrence. Coordination issues have arisen as a consequence of the team's inability to build a consistent playing style. These issues were especially noticeable during the 2022 World Cup, which was held in Qatar. Croatia eliminated Brazil in the quarterfinals of the tournament, a depletion of identity caused by the exodus of talented individuals. The tremendous exodus of talented players to other countries is one of the most critical difficulties that Brazilian football is currently experiencing. Changes in European labor regulations over the past 2 decades have made it simpler for players who are not members of the European Union to join clubs located around Europe. As a consequence of this, Portugal loses hundreds of football players to leagues in other countries every year. The most notable transfers, such as Vinicius Jr. and Endrick to Real Madrid, garner a lot of attention. Nonetheless, the departure of a great number of lesser-known players also brings to a decline in the overall quality of the domestic league. According to historian Gomes, this brain drain prevents Brazil from having the opportunity to cultivate talent that is already there in the country, which in turn hinders the development of the distinctive style of play that is characteristic of Brazilian football. A gap exists among the Brazilian national team as a result of the fact that the pace and rhythm of play in Brazilian leagues are different from those in European ones. Players are becoming more used to the characteristics of European football, which can come into conflict with the traditional Brazilian attitude when it comes to competing in international events. There is a diminishing domestic league as a result of the dominance of European countries. It is clear that the Brazilian league is in decline, not only because it is unable to keep talented players, but also because of the overall quality of the games that are played, despite the fact that the English Premier League is frequently regarded as the peak of club football. Gomes challenges how England can claim to be the greatest in the world without creating the top players or having a strong tradition of winning the World Cup. The answer can be found in the importation of talent, primarily from Latin American countries, with Brazil serving as the dominant supply of talented individuals. The consistent departure of players from the local league has the effect of weakening it, which in turn makes it difficult for Brazilian clubs to compete on the international soccer scene. In the event that the quality continues to deteriorate, the league will become less appealing to spectators and sponsors, which will result in a vicious cycle that will continually prolong the slide. Being unable to identify top-tier talent that is capable of fighting against the best in the world is a challenge for the national team because there is no strong league. The part that politics and management play in the recovering process. A change in coaching is not enough to address the issues that Brazilian football is currently facing. Other measures are required. In order to successfully revive the domestic league, Gomes contends that strong administration and political will are both necessary components. In order to reverse the current trend, it is essential to take initiatives such as establishing legislation for financial fair play and protecting clubs that are responsible for talent development. Furthermore, increased club management is essential for recruiting investment and cultivating local talent in order to achieve these goals. The creation of a sustainable model that places an emphasis on the development of young players and the promotion of players from inside the club is the primary focus of clubs. Through the cultivation of a culture that places a higher value on long-term success than on short-term benefits, Brazilian football has the potential to start regaining its footing. In order to revitalize Brazilian football's identity, there is a pressing need for a renaissance. It is imperative that all parties involved in Brazilian football, from club executives to supporters, pay attention to the crisis that is currently unfolding in the sport. Graffite, a former striker who is now a football expert, expressed his regret over the loss of the beautiful game, highlighting the fact that the identity of Brazilian football comes into question. Revitalizing the amazing dribbling and flair that once defined the style of the nation is something that needs to be done. The implementation of a complete strategy is necessary in order for Brazil to restore its position in the world of football. It is necessary for this plan to involve the participation of clubs, the national team, and governing bodies in order to establish an atmosphere that cultivates talent and encourages the development of a distinctive playing style. Adopting the ideas of the Jogo Bonito, while simultaneously adjusting to contemporary trends, will be essential for the revitalization of Brazil. A plea for movement. The failure of Brazil's national football team is a complex problem that reflects bigger trends in football around the world. There have been a number of factors that have led to the current dilemma, including the loss of talent, the instability in coaching, and the declining quality of the top domestic league. This crisis, on the other hand, also gives an opportunity for growth and restoration. The nation has the potential to once again become a dominant force on the international arena if it places a high priority on the development of its youth, employs efficient administration, and maintains a level of dedication to the fundamental principles of Brazilian football. In the midst of Brazil's ongoing struggle to define its identity, it is imperative that fans, players, and officials come together to guarantee that the legacy of the Seleção endures. With perseverance and a shared vision, Brazilian football has the potential to rise from the ashes and once again embody the spirit of the beautiful game. The route to recovery may be difficult, but it is possible that Brazilian football can do so. Want to be part of the conversation about football's future? Subscribe now and be the first to know when we release new content that dives into the heart of the game.